Hello and welcome to the Simuldub Saints, your guide to seasonal anime dubs. I'm your host, LaserKid, and with me as always is my trusty co-host.
Hello, I am Archangel, lover of cat girls.
You've been listening to our theme song, Wherever I Go, from friend of the podcast, Ampren. Please check out their awesome music, link in the description.
And this episode, we don't have a sponsor, but we are shouting out the Ashspawn. More about him at the end.
Alright, more shouting out. Yeah, so, it's been a couple of weeks. Sorry, guys, we missed a week because I had a fun cold that kept me from editing. And then we got our 50th episode out last week. So you guys have been sitting here wondering what's going on. Well, that's what's going on.
Okay, was sick, and I was just in absolute pain from World War II weekend. So
yes.
it takes a lot out of me.
So that's why we had a delay there. Boss, by the time you got back, the episode was out. So
right, but that's why we didn't record anything last week.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, we just put out the previous week's recording. So whatever. 50 was late, basically. Okay. So I know we told you we wouldn't have Arc here, but we do because we're a week late. Also, a heads up, after this episode for a couple of weeks, I'm going to be down at my folks' place with bad internet and no computer of value that can do any editing. So this will be the last one from editing for me for a couple of weeks, but I will be back.
Yeah, and you'll have to put up with my editing in the meantime.
Yeah, this probably means you're going to have to do the season rollout episode. Apologies up front.
If it's the start of season, I can do that.
Yes, it would be. Anyway, just letting y'all know what's going on. And now for a somewhat delayed in the news. We didn't do that for the anniversary episode. Or 50th episode, rather. So our first big news is that Vampire Hunter D is now on Hidive. This is actually kind of big news because Vampire Hunter D is an absolute master classic in the anime community. It was a big deal when I was new into anime. It came out in the 80s, and they actually dubbed that thing pretty quickly thanks to Streamline Pictures, the creation of Carl Macek, who you may know as the man behind Robotech. Vampire Hunter D, the version on Hidive is going to be the redub from Sentai Filmworks, which has been on Blu-ray for quite a while. Ask me how I know. The redub's all right. It's actually probably technically a better dub, but I'm still so used to the old dub, I like it better. But if you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch, and the remaster is very pretty. So good to have that out in streaming world. Coming so that's when it's coming out. The final season of My Hero Academia is coming out October this year. Excellent. The final season. Good God. It doesn't feel like it's been out that long, but then I remember it was 2016, and that's 9 years ago. That's a good run. Great show, classic stuff, very popular. Love the spinoff, obviously. We've talked about that a little bit.
I was going to say, it doesn't look like they're done with the verse by any means.
I don't know. The spinoff was a manga that was written at the same time as the main manga, so they might be. I mean, we are not because we've got Vigilantes to run a while longer still, obviously, but I don't know if there's anything new after that. But we'll see. I hope we get more because it's a good universe.
Okay, well, if not, that's what fanfic is for.
How? I guarantee you this has a healthy fanfic community.
Of course it does. Right. Everything does.
Well, yes, but this is right for it. Just make your own superhero and supervillains, and you got your own story.
But even the worst shows get their fanfic communities. Ask me how I know.
Because
anyway,
part of it.
You heard all. Well, I was previously. You heard about all that last time. So anyway, next
continuing on. The beginning at the end has confirmed season 2 for 2026.
Excellent.
So that's
excellent show.
I agree, although the internet is still hating on that animation.
Fuck them.
But I think it doesn't. I've enjoyed season 1. It's been good.
The animation is perfectly fine.
I
know what cheap shit animation looks like, guys. That ain't it. Okay.
I mean, it's
modern
not going
cheap
to win
shit
any
animation.
award.
I mean,
It's not going to win
No.
any awards, but it's not
certainly not. But
bad.
not everything has to. Not everything needs to be freaking Kaiju number 8. Okay.
Well, that's what the fans of the books are mad because that's what they wanted for it.
Well, and I don't doubt it deserves it, but there's not enough money for everything. I mean,
Well,
I'm
and that's
still
not even
waiting
why.
I am waiting how many years now for more Bookworm? Shut the hell up. Be glad you get it at all.
Oh dear.
I'm
You
cranky
wanted
today. Don't mind me.
you wanted to talk about something that we've been waiting for, something that needs it so fucking badly because of where the OVAs left it off. Fans of the 90s unite. Ronin Warriors, or Samurai Troopers as it's known in Japan, is getting an official sequel.
Why did you put the Japanese name? Because I'm looking at Samurai Troopers. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I've at least heard
Ronin
of
Warriors!
Okay, I've heard of Ronin Warriors. Never seen it.
Yes. Well, I mean, I put that in the notes. You can see that.
Oh, missed that part.
Yeah, Ronin friggin' Warriors is back, y'all. Or again, Samurai Troopers, as it is likely going to be called when it gets out here, because we kind of do the Japanese name thing more often these days, which is fine. Although Ronin Warriors is what you most likely know it as. That series is amazing. It's a good classic, and I'm not kidding. The OVA, the way that that series previously left off, confused both Japanese and American fans, and it's kind of oddly dark and confusing, and nobody knows what the hell happened. I'd love for them to either ignore it or explain it and keep going. More of that, hell yeah! You want to talk about long turnaround time? That's it. Like that last OVA was like in the early '90s. So if you're waiting for something, you never know what's going to hit you. But that's it for our news. So we've got a fun little topic today, as you know, because you clicked on this podcast. I assume you know what you're in for, but we're here to talk about Teogonia, which I just want to kind of quickly go into the non-spoiler side of things, because I know that some of you guys look at it and go, oh, I haven't seen that, don't want to listen yet. And I get it, because we do absolutely go through stuff. But I want to give you guys a chance to enjoy, learn, or at least learn what this is. This is a almost isekai. It's not really an isekai, but it's an almost isekai because the main character has memories of quote unquote the real world or our world. But
it's more of a reincarnation thing than an isekai.
That's
I think
still an isekai.
Right, but what I mean is, he doesn't. I don't think he remembers dying or anything like that, and he doesn't have any of his own his old personality. He's just got these random memories of modern Japan.
It reminds me
bits and flashes.
The thing it reminds me of most is picking up that trash, because she also had bits and pieces of random memories that she didn't quite know what was going on there.
Oh, Weakest Tamer, you mean?
Yes, who went to go pick up the trash.
Kind of, yeah. She had her her past self giving her nudges here and there, so it's a little less than that, but same idea, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very, very similar to that. It does not factor into the story. He's not overpowered, at least not from birth. Quite the opposite, actually. And he doesn't have real world knowledge. It helps him be better. The most his real world knowledge helps him is realize that there's a thing called rice balls. That's about as much as he gets out of that.
Right. And then he's like, "What's up? Wait, how do I know that? What's a rice ball?"
Yeah. So that's an interesting little side element, but it's not
I'm
really
sure
a thing.
At least it had better come up. Further in the plot. Otherwise, it's just a way. Otherwise, it's just like, what is wrong with you, author?
So, getting ready for this, this actually did start off as a light novel. I'd say series, but it's actually just a trilogy. It's a 3-booker.
Okay.
And that's all that last one came out in 2019. So it's pretty clearly done as far as I can tell. The manga adaptation's still going on. So it's not like it's a dead property, but the book, I'm guessing that it's just a trilogy of books. I could be wrong. That's just from the outside looking in, not going into too much detail because there's not a lot of detail to find. But if you want those books, J-Novel's got you. So yeah, we're in this fantasy feudal Japan kind of fantasy world kind of a thing. We're in our own village called Rag Village. We're being attacked by monsters, the macabre, like monkey people, orcs, pig people, and we're all fighting over these little cores that you can open and drink and become powerful.
Yeah.
Well, in Rag Village, when they kill one of those guys that has that, the villagers get a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, and then the warriors get like an insanely large amount.
And that's an early discussion. We'll go into it later. Of is this bullshit? Is this necessary?
I have
even a discussion in the world
feelings on that, but it's a screwy kind of a situation if nothing else. And they're living day by day in fear of being like wiped out. But they're fighting back, and there's some interesting things going on because Kai wants to use magic, but what's magic? I've never heard of that. But I want to use it. Again, isekai knowledge, but he doesn't know why he has it.
Right.
And, I mean, spoilers a little bit, but minor.
So we should mention that the noble class are people called guardian bearers, which means that they have some sort of pact or have been chosen or something.
That's not 100% true. They're not all guardian bears. Some of them are.
Right, but the people who get the godstones, as they're called, are these guardian bearers who have supernatural strength and stuff.
You become a guardian bearer by taking a godstone, and that gives you powers of respective god. That's how that works.
So sure.
That's exactly how that works. That's how we've seen it happen every single time. So that's... Anyway, our boy actually, our main character Kai actually does become a guardian bearer by doing exactly that. And that's the minor spoilers. Yeah, he's the main character. He gets powers, obviously, and he learns to use fire magic, as it were, and things kind of go off from there. We're pretty much at the tip of what I think we can really talk about without getting into the nitty gritty. So, if you have not watched Teogonia, my honest opinion is this is worth your time. It is not a 5 out of 5 all-time star classic, but it is worth your time. It is an enjoyable adventure. The characters are very well written. The drama is quite good. And there's an interesting little, world going on here that's worth exploring. So if you're looking for a yay or an A, I say yay.
Yeah, likewise. On a meta level, I would say it's an interesting exploration of certain aspects of social hierarchy and organization and rulership, as we'll discuss in a bit. And it does it in more of a just, like I said, just discusses it. It, at least yet, has not presented any right or wrong, which is, at least for American, a refreshing change.
I love that because... and you're going to hear this from both of us here in a minute. We might even disagree. Knowing us, we probably will. It does not give you this is right, this is wrong. It kind of leaves that up to you.
So, in other words, it's intelligently written, unlike a lot of what comes out of America these days. So, at least at the quote-unquote top levels.
Yeah. I'm not going to say you can't do a story that tells you what's right, what's wrong. But if you do that, you got to be subtle about it. You can't just go, this good, this bad. Show us why that's good. Show us why that's bad. And you can lead your viewer, reader, whatever you want to call it, into those conclusions by showing it. Show, don't tell. That's the real problem with what you're talking about. Is they tell instead of showing.
Exactly, because I mean, if you look back at the old westerns where we literally get the term white hat and black hat, literally that was the case back in the old western morality plays, which is what they were. But they did exactly what you just said, and very well, actually.
Yeah, well, and again, I'm going to go a step a little bit further into that conversation. Let's go to the biggest moral play of modern cinema, Star Wars. We all call it the evil empire because that's what we call it. They never once call them the evil empire in those movies. They're evil because of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very apparent. I mean, one of the first things that they do is...
and whether or not the Empire is evil really depends on where you stand.
I think
Andor in particular, it actually, in modern Star Wars, the difference between the badly made stuff and the handful of well-made things, like Andor, for example, explores exactly that. At least season 1 did a fantastic job. We haven't seen season 2 yet, but I hear it's amazing.
I've heard the same. We definitely need to sit down.
And that's the thing. It shows all sides. It shows, for example, these people in the Empire who, yes, they're assholes, but it shows their point of view honestly and forthrightly. They are trying to keep order for what they perceive to be the public good. Now, I think they're completely wrong.
Well, and I would call it the evil empire. If you ask me, I would call it the evil empire, and I think most people do. But again, the movies and the shows never do that. And that's the point.
Well, very few people ever call themselves evil. Yes. At least not unironically.
Anywho, we're
speaking of which, if you haven't watched I'm the Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, go fucking watch it. It is so fucking funny.
Wow, I've tried to take us back off of the tangent, and you went off on a tangent on a tangent.
That was just that one note, but I couldn't not speak up. I mean,
we've spoken well of Evil Lord before, but yes, very good show. Anyway, to right our ship, that's about as much as we're going to really say without spoilering, because to really dig into this, we're going to have to get into the story here. So if you want to know what's going on, to put us on pause, click the video, close off, go watch it. We both recommend it, and then come back and you can hear our thoughts if you so
we'll still be here.
Absolutely. We are not going anywhere, I promise you. Okay, either you don't care about spoilers, or you went and watched it, or you've already watched it. So, yeah, let's dig into this. We mentioned him, Kai, is the main character. He's a part of Rag Village. And, he's got his buddies. He's got his love interest, Elsa. We should probably actually go into the voice cast here a little bit.
Before we forget.
Yes, absolutely. Kai is voiced by Rebecca Marano. That's Camelot. That's the camera monster in A-Rank Party.
I thought it was Camera Rat.
I could be. I don't know. Sometimes the places I get these sources from.
I thought it was Cam Rat, which was kind of because they're cute little things. Anyway.
Well, you might be right, because I literally copied and pasted it from my anime list, who sometimes don't use the proper translations.
It's probably how the Japanese spell it.
Yes. Anyway, and then Iku Soto in the 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You. I would not have credited that, except for the fact that, she was listed as the main character, and there's not a lot of credits for Rebecca yet, although definitely plenty there. It's not none. And this is definitely her first major role in something that I'm watching, at least.
Yep, and just to be clear, even though it's a voice actress portraying Kai is a boy.
Yes, this is very common.
But he's young and he's kind of short, so it makes sense. So shorter.
Very common for young boys in anime to be voiced by ladies in English and in Japanese.
How old is he? He's like 14.
I don't know. It
13,
does not
14, something like that.
It doesn't say. It didn't say, at least as far as I know. He's a young man. That much we can say. Yeah, old enough to have a love interest in Elsa, voiced by Crystal Laporte. That's Emily Kizuna Yellow, Tomohoshi and Red Ranger Isekai, and Kuwabala in Shy, one of the villain ladies who likes to stick out her tongue at people. I love that's who this is. I imagining Kizuna Yellow here just makes me giggle a little bit.
This lady is something of a polar opposite. She is just a very sweet, wholesome girl next door.
That's why it makes me laugh. Because it's a very much polar opposite.
So she's the type who hears she wishes she was her boyfriend. talk about this weird rice ball thing, and so she listens to him and then goes away and tries to make one.
And then she does.
Yeah, as best she could without seeing one.
From what I can tell, she nailed
there's
it.
no seaweed. Well, there's no seaweed wrapping, for example.
Well, they don't have the sea, so whatever.
Well, there's that, and you wouldn't know that unless you'd seen it or been described to you. But from what she knew, she did an exact replication.
Yeah, no, I'm very impressed. She is very much caring about not just Kai, obviously Kai, but she cares for basically the whole village. She's always running around doing tasks to help people. Not a whole lot of story around her just yet, although I think we're going to get there based on where we left off. But she's definitely not a nobody character. She has a strong personality, a care to take care of people around her. Good character. And then there's Kai's best buddy in the world. This is probably one of my favorite characters. Manso, voiced by Tom Aglio. Tom Aglio is Ichimoku Samzu, the visor guy in My Hero Academia Vigilantes, and Toka Mimori in Failure Frame, main character. Manso is just a dude, bro. He's like, yeah, you're my buddy. He's like a commoner without being nearly that flamboyant. Like, he cares about Kai a lot. He's looking out for him, trying to give him word of the wise.
Yeah, he's the dude who's not that bright, but is absolutely sincere and has your back.
Oh, yeah, no, this guy's got Kai's back, no question. Now, we were talking earlier about the social hierarchy in Rag Village. Early on, I was definitely going, oh, fuck this place. Because, again, they get all these godstones that they have them by the barrelful. They got whole, like, wheelbarrows and wheelbarrows and wheelbarrows for them. They take one of them and give the villagers, like, a tiny, tiny amount of that per villager. And then give the rest to, like, the upper warriors. Now, when this first happened, we had a very interesting discussion. A disagreement at the moment, and at that moment, I have different thoughts at this point. So at that particular juncture, I said that this is some bullshit because you've got this desperate situation where these monsters are constantly overrunning you. You've got all these warriors, but there are not that many of them, and then there's the bulk of your soldiers are these peasant people who are fighting for you. And you're not giving them the power to properly fight for you? Are you stupid? This is some bullshit. This is some elitist bullshit crap. I want this kingdom to fall. That was my immediate reaction to that, to which you said...
I said, which this part apparently you missed, because I remember we had a huge row about this. Which
we did. Really that's what I'm trying to let you
right,
say.
But what I said is it was either that or it was a situation where we need the champions to be as strong as they possibly could be because there's these incredibly high-level threats among the monsters. And without knowing, basically we can't judge until we know whether this is bullshit or not.
Yep.
So I basically called you out for jumping to conclusions. That seemed to have been lost at that moment, and we had a big row about nothing.
Well, what's funny is I think we're both right.
Well, I don't know. At this point, I think there's some logic to it, but whether the original logic justifies the... there's logic behind it, but just because there's logic behind the origins of a custom doesn't mean that it's still logical down the line.
There is logic in what he says.
Having gotten to know the leader of this town, I don't believe that it is intentionally oppressive, but it is still incredibly stupid. I no longer want it to fall because I like the people in charge, but
this whole thing is an analog for feudalism.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, speaking of the lords, one of them, the princess, if you will, of the town, not the kingdom. The kingdom is much bigger. We've only seen tiny pieces of the rest of what's called the unified kingdom. But for Rags Village, the daughter of the leader is Jose. She is voiced by Rebecca Dene. That's Jane Andrews and Anne Shirley, and Hijiki Renard Yama in Demon Lord 2099, the heterochromia girl with the Godner. So Jose is a guardian bearer, and she does at least seem to care, but she's got this whole thing. She is a woman. She wants to fight. Her father and other, nobles are like, "You're a woman. Your place is in the kitchen." She hates that.
Is male instinct protect the women because women make babies, and it's our job to protect them, at least by
Yeah,
instinct.
but if that woman has the power to kick ass, you let her kick ass.
True, but tell that to your hindbrain.
I can
These
easily.
Right, but these guys are not philosophers. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I get where they're coming from. I just don't agree with them at all, and I think they're being again the short sightedness is real here.
Indeed,
they're going at the rate they are going. They're going to fall because they're being very, 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 very stupid.
Because that's never happened in human history.
I never said that didn't.
No. I'm saying this is why I like this show, is because it's kind of on point. It's a metaphor for the way society works. What's interesting about Jose in particular is she is a guardian bearer, not because she's her father's daughter, although that's probably part of it, but apparently gods are tied to each god is tied to a specific location.
Yep.
And so hers, actually, the village has been destroyed. So she doesn't have any subjects of herself, as you would expect or people. I don't know if subjects. I don't know, but nobody lives in her territory. But it's still up to her to go and clean up the temple. And there's these. This is when we learn there's these stones with this weird writing that nobody can read, and there's some weirdness going on here with the gods and the guardian bearer stuff.
Indeed. Well, it's worth noting at this point that the narrator and voice of the Valley God, who we're going to very much get into in a little bit, is voiced by Reagan Murdoch. You may know him as Takeru Shinoyama in Dead Mount Deathplay, the main antagonist thereof. And Earhart Hawk in The Saints Magic Power is Omnipotent.
Mr. Smarty Glasses, yes.
Yes. I will say, finding out it's the same thing, the Valley God and the narrator are the same guy, actually threw me for a loop because they do not sound the same. Narrator is nice, warm, kind. Valley God is, "You will do what I say." It's like, whoa, guy.
Well, clearly, Mr. Murdoch has some range.
Indeed.
So, I think this is where we start briefly recapping the plot and then discussing things as they come up.
Indeed. So, as we mentioned, most of our people don't have much, and Kai wants to use fire magic. He just feels like he should have this. Doesn't have it, obviously, and he's sent off on some mission to deal with stuff and is lost. Finds himself fighting for his life, surviving by the skin of his teeth. Well, now he's out in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of dead guys around him. I believe they're orgs. And he's like, well, you know what? Screw it. No one's around. I'm the only one that does. I'm drinking all the shit myself. Screw y'all. I'm doing it. And inadvertently becomes a god bearer.
Sounds letting it go to waste. Yeah, I think it's that he was drinking it, and because didn't he fall down into the valley? Right?
He did fall. Yes, he did fall down.
So it's both power and location, I think, is what happened.
I think you might be right about that because
that's just a guess, but
no. See, that one I think is actually very, very likely to be true because he does actually try to read it, and he can kind of sort of read it a little bit.
Yeah, and it turns out he's in an unclaimed territory, or rather, a god who does not have a guardian bearer, known as the Valley God. Still don't know
the Valley God, also known as the Arbitrator. We'll get into that here in a minute. And he becomes the guardian bearer for that god, which he tries to keep secret. He keeps going off on his own, trying to, he train his power. He can absolutely use fire now. And this is when he comes across Polek, who is the leader of the Koror, the kind of little... I'd say dwarves was more like gnomes.
They're
really.
somewhere. They're
tiny.
somewhere between dwarves, gnomes, and halflings. They're nice.
Yeah, they're nice people. They're tiny. The little people. The little folk. For you One Piece fans, these are totally Tontata. Minus the personality. These are not the personality of the Tontata, but they're about that size.
They're but they've got the build of gnomes, the personalities, the look of halflings, and the personalities of dwarves, at least to some extent.
Well, Polek does. They're not all dwarves. Polek, the
sure.
leader, who is the only one that actually speaks... Well, not the only one, but one of the few that speaks English, or whatever the human language is here, does actually talk to Kai, tells him that he's the Valley God, because he knows the Valley God, because he went into the Valley without permission and beheld the Valley and the Valley God, and was punished by losing his eyes. But he still actually reveres the Valley God. Now, you may be wondering, why aren't you crediting Polek's voice actor? That's because Crunchyroll hasn't. Thanks, Crunchyroll. Thanks for that. But you need to credit your voice actors!
We need to make a meme image at this point.
I actually do
to
have
flash
an image.
up. Yeah,
I
so
have,
we need
I
a
have
meme
an
to
image
flash up.
I have an image that takes a spot of the voice actor. That's Crunchyroll. Credit your voice actor.
Yeah, no, but we did like a meme
A
thing.
whole thing.
So somebody pointing and yelling at the screen.
Credit your voice actors, Crunchyroll, you assholes.
So yeah.
But yeah, Polek kind of acts as info dump. But also he basically betroths Kai to his daughter, Arue, voiced by Emmy Lowe. That's Mao Mao in Apothecary Diaries, and Miri Unasaka in Buddy Daddies. And Arue's like, okay, I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna go down to the valley and make you a house and make you some food. Bye.
Well, she had been intended as the offering for the Valley God, right? Before Kai stumbled into them, or am I misremembering?
No, that isn't. It's not so much that, so much as she was going to be. They were going to try to offer her up to the orgs who were attacking them, but then Kai killed them.
Oh, okay, something like that.
So
first of all, Daddy said so, and she's a good girl. Secondly, she just watched this guy kick the shit out of a bunch of bad monsters, so she's kind of got hearts in her eyes. Not that I blame her.
Yeah, so, we now have friends of the little people. So Kai eventually gets back to the village, and it's not long before Josei notices and starts training with him. And it's not long before that.
I don't think she doesn't notice that he's a guardian bear, but she notices he has combat skill.
Yes.
And she's like, all right, I need a sparring partner anyway. You're getting special training.
And this gets noticed by Baron Moloch Vegine, voiced by Christopher Guerrero. That's Aizen and Frieren, Joe Tagame and Windbreaker, and hilariously, the last town mayor in Zenchu, which is basically the same damn character.
Yeah, it's a little less flamboyant here, but yeah.
Well, yes, not flamboyant
very,
here, but
very much Alex Louise Armstrong energy.
Yes, although not the same voice actor at all.
No, but it's similar character energy is what I said.
Oh yeah. Getting to know this guy is why I don't hate the town anymore, because this guy actually cares. He wants to make sure his people have enough food to survive and have the protection they need. His heart is absolutely 1,000,000,000% in the right place, and I love him for it. I just wish he would change his strategy, because it's not working.
Well, I don't think he realizes that, and even if it did, I don't think he's aware of any other way.
Well, it's not hard to... Okay, you can still give the majority of them to your, elites, but you can give, have a middle class option. Like, people can show their skill. Okay, you're skilled, but you don't have power. Let's build you up. Then we have more soldiers. That's great. It's not that hard.
True enough. But yeah, so this guy is
it's
the
not
archetype.
Like he can't recognize that. Sorry.
Yeah, this guy is the archetype of the good warrior noble.
Yes.
who cares about his people and is all about defending them and so forth. And he's a bit of a musclehead. But it's he sees himself as there as a protector rather than an oppressor.
Yes. And to his credit, when he sees Kai rising, his instinct is not, oh God, the people are rising up. His instinct is, yes, let's pull this guy up. We need that. So he's got the mindset to recognize it when he sees it. So I believe if someone told, I believe if someone mentioned it to him, I think he'd do it. And it's all the more frustrating that because he recognizes that when he sees it, he doesn't go, oh, what if we had more Kais?
Well, I can tell you as a technical trainer, you can show people, people, if you train them by use cases, specific use cases, a lot of people will not make a logical leap to, what can I use this same process for other things? A lot of people just seem incapable of making that tiny little adjustment.
It's just frustrating because it just well, this is driving me crazy because I actually really like this guy and I really want him to. And then there's his son, Oha, voiced by the legendary Riko Fajardo. That's Yorishige Suwa in Elusive Samurai, Lemillion / Mira Togata in Hero Academia, Taiju Oki in Dr. Stone, Benimaru in Re-Slime. That list goes on and on for days. This guy's amazing. And he does a great job as Olha, who I wouldn't say that he doesn't care about his people, but he doesn't have as much care as his father does. He seems to be more on the mind of, oh, they'll be okay. Oh, they'll be okay. But will they, though?
Yeah, I don't think he's learned through bitter experience exactly how necessary he is just yet.
Yeah.
But I think he will.
I think so, too. He is also a guardian mirror, and he also, like his father, wants his sister to, stay out of the way, let me do the fighting, be safe. And I actually do understand why you want to keep, your daughter, your sister safe. I get that. Mm-hmm. But if your daughter or sister can kick as much ass as you do, let her. But that's beside the point at this point. We kind of went into that already. I think he's interesting specifically because he's kind of like a halfway point between the Baron and our next character, my favorite one.
Another classic archetype.
Yes, we'll get into him in there in a minute. He cares about his people, but he's also willing to be bureaucratic and be like, well, we can cut their rations. They'll be okay. And it's like, again, but will they, though? But he will fight for his people because that's what he believes he has to do. I want to see where this guy goes given recent events in the show, but let's go ahead and go to our friend, quote unquote.
Just say he's a good kid, but he's young.
Yes. One of the major things that occurs is we have the inspector arrive from the capital of the Unified Kingdom in the Central Plain, and that inspector is a man named Gandalf, who they refer the main generic villagers just refer to this as the Frogman, and oh god, if that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I would call him Ozzy from Chrono Trigger. I mean, just look at this dude.
I can see the resemblance, yeah.
Gandalf, voiced by Derek Snow, that's QJ in Zenchu and Doki Baragaki in Shy, is another archetype, as you said.
Yeah, the opposite aristocratic archetype, who is demanding, entitled, vulgar, and seems pretty fucking useless all the way around.
Yep. He very clearly has absolutely no care for the populace. They can die. He does not care. He literally... They try to give him, more food than the people, but still have enough food for the people. And he doesn't like... He's like, well, I deserve more. And so now people are eating even less. Good job, asshole. And what are you giving in return? No, nothing? Cool.
He's here to get killed. The question is by whom or what.
Yeah, we'll get into him more here in a minute, because, oh, God, he's asking for it.
Oh, yeah, no, he's clearly here to get killed. And I cannot wait.
Oh, I cannot wait. The guy who arrives alongside him, although is not another inspector, as I initially thought when I was looking to clarify who this guy is We have Nada, who is not credited because Crunchyroll doesn't credit their voice actors. Credit your voice actors, Crunchyroll. Come the hell on. He actually was on his own heading this way from the monastery of Moss for his own pilgrimage, where he's trying to find guardian bears, basically. And he kind of helped out Gandalf on his way in because Gandalf was attacked by the monsters on the way in, which annoys him. Like, oh, you have monsters.
Is Gandalf supposed to be a guardian bearer? I'm not clear on that point.
No, he's an inspector.
Okay.
He is an inspector from the capital. But Nada is a guardian bearer of sorts and has his own set of powers, and he's definitely on the lookout. He takes a liking to Kai, kind of has some suspicions, and actually uses his ability to see things from afar to follow Kai and confirm that Kai is the guardian bearer of the Valley God. He straight up sees Kai defend the Koror, and he basically helps out with stuff. Things come to a head, though, when both Jose and Olha become, like, really ill and have these weird marks on them. They're the stones that represent their gods, which is why another reason why I think you're right about the location being in effect for the god, for being connected to a god. For the guardian bearer here.
Yeah, they were pretty clear on that with Lady Jose, that whole episode with going to Lady Jose's what's left of her village.
Yes.
To clean the stone and all that.
So for her and Olha, the stones for their gods have been desecrated by the orcs, and that's making them weak and powerless and, unable to do things. So Kai and Nada go up to go cleanse those, basically. Which they do, but then Nada confronts Kai because Kai is the guardian bearer of the Arbiter, the Valley God. And Nada wants him to represent the entire kingdom and forsake his allies in the cores, which Kai absolutely refuses to do. And he is like, oh, well, I had to ask, and then he stabs Kai. I should clarify, before he stabs Kai, the Valley God is screaming at Kai, kill him! Because, I'm not going to do that. And at the moment, I was with Kai, but in retrospect, the Valley God was right, because, Nada tries to kill Kai for not being willing to become a pawn of the kingdom, basically. Kai's willing to help.
Well, he is the arbiter. If parties come to him, you go to the arbiter, and the arbiter, you make your cases, the arbiter renders judgment. The arbiter does not work for one side or another.
Yeah. But that Nada wanted the arbiter to work just for the humans, and that was never going to be the case. Well, so Kai's been stabbed. Nada's in that. But then, of course,
Nada doesn't double tap like an idiot.
Oh, he was in the process of. But the problem is, the thing that happened there was they came under attack from the Macaw, the monkey people, who are mad that their desecrations have been undesecrated, and they go into attack. Nada then has to kind of stop trying to kill Kai because he kind of needs him to survive now, because he's stupid and should have thought, oh, hey, I'm in the middle of enemy territory. Maybe I shouldn't get rid of my fighter here.
Yeah, well, if he had any brains, he would have just finished Kai off and then beat it. I think he could have gotten away. He's if I recall correctly, he's fast as hell.
What he should have done is waited for them to go back and then kill Kai in his sleep or something.
Yeah, well.
That would have been the smart way to handle that. Because you
True.
don't want to lose.
It depends on what his official position is, if he has the authority to do that. If he doesn't, that could cause all sorts of annoyance. So,
well, you do it in secret either way. It's not like you tell people you did it.
Fair enough.
And what you could do, you could tell, take him out with you and then go, oh, he was slain by the enemy. He was helping me. And who's going to tell you otherwise?
Right.
The problem with actually doing it out in the middle of nowhere and trying that is, well, you have to get back then. and we're surrounded by the enemy assault. It's not the time to do that.
Yeah. Well, tunnel vision. And also
Yep.
hubris.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Nada. I was for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd be curious to know. He appears to be. He doesn't appear to be a kingdom official. He appears to be some sort of religious.
He's a monk.
figure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
monk.
Classic Buddhist monk. So I'm curious what his order and monastery is about. What's their deal?
Well, we don't know. We get all these names, but we don't actually. The Teogonia doesn't actually take its time to really like flush that out. Just it's a thing.
Yeah, I kind of tuned it out because there was no context yet.
I only wrote it down so that we could actually talk about it. Go, oh, that church, oh, that place. I'm like, okay, we need to actually know what we're talking about. But there's no real details. Well, while this is going on, the town is under attack, and Gandalf's had about enough. He wants to leave. But if he opens that door, the Khas are going to storm in and kill all the people. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to leave anyway. He takes freaking Elsa hostage in order to get out with his carriage. And as soon as he does,
split the difference. Just as a side note, I'd say split the difference. Throw him over the wall.
I mean, that would be great, but they can't do that because he represents the kingdom.
Well, I mean, kill him, kill his things. Oh, he perished heroically defending us from the macaques. Give him a medal.
Yeah, and the macaques are at it.
Macaque. It's a type of monkey in real life.
Oh,
at least the name. There's a second K in there. Macaque.
I see the Q there. I can see it because there's a QUE. I thought the Q was silent.
Nope. But
I'll take your word for it. I've been calling him a call this whole time, so
yeah, that's a
wish you corrected me a lot. Wish you corrected me a lot sooner.
Okay, it's fine. We all know what you're talking about. So
yeah, the monkey people. So yeah, they storm in after he leaves with freaking. It's like, okay, you took her hostage to get out. Why didn't you dump her after that? He's just holding on to her now. He is just asking the guy to kick his ass.
Well, not to put too fine a point on it, we've been shown that he's kind of a creep. I imagine
he didn't show any interest in her, though. Like that'd be one thing if that was the case, but he didn't show interest in that. In her,
well, not her, but once you got a pretty girl, you may as well hold on to her. Especially if you think her village is about to be burned to the ground, no one's going to miss her.
Yeah. I was curious why he didn't bother, because that's extra weight as well, but...
Well, there's that, and also because, Kai needs to...
story-wise, yes.
And Kai needs to fucking end him.
Yeah. Well, and he's probably going to. And Nada is getting his ass kicked because he and Kai have to team up against the macaque who are attacking them. And Nada kind of buys it there.
Yeah,
Nada is Nada more.
You may die in defense of this village, but that is now a sacrifice we are willing to make.
Yes, and that's kind of where we've left off.
Wow. So
yeah.
So Kai is pretty. Yeah, Kai is pretty lucky here, at least if he has the sense to finish the job when he hunts down what's his face. All of his loose ends are being tied off for him.
Well, killing Nada's not going to be a big problem for him, but Gandalf represents the kingdom. If Gandalf gets killed by Kai, which he probably will, that's going to be a major problem for the political situation, because now you're going to have a very upset kingdom.
Right. Well, I mean, you blame it all on macaques.
So why didn't you protect him? It's not that easy.
We offered to, but he was insistent on leaving, and we found his carriage all smashed up and then torn to pieces. So tragic.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see
if
how
only
that
he had
works.
stayed and accepted our Lord's protection. Yeah, come on, it's easy. You've seen him. No one's gonna fucking miss him.
Depends on how the upper echelon is, and we don't know.
If they think it was the monsters who did it, they would only care if they saw it as an act of rebellion against themselves. So as long as you don't make sure they don't get that idea, you're good.
Well, it depends on who sees what, who survives, I guess.
Right. Well, this is why you make sure there aren't any survivors.
Well, whether or not Kai is going to think of that in rage to get his girl back is to be seen.
See,
I don't believe he's gonna think that much through.
no. Yeah, no. I would not expect him to. Yeah. So, just one more point I want to make in general is I see Kai's journey here. I don't know if this is what the author had in mind. Probably not explicitly, but I see this as sort of a very interesting take on the classic narrative of the peasant boy who finds out he's the heir to a destroyed barony and has to
Yeah.
rebuild it.
No, it's got shades of that because
Yeah, that's fairly because remember these gods, and in turn being a guardian bearer, it's tied to a specific place, and people look to them for protection. That's why I say that this whole thing is a fairly on the nose analog for feudalism, and so what are the dynamics at play? Who owes what to whom? These are questions that have troubled human society since the first time somebody said, "I'll protect you if you feed me."
Yeah. Well, there you go. And I think that's Teogonia pretty well wrapped up. Still got a few episodes left as we record this, although it's pretty good. I definitely recommend it.
Indeed.
So, Ark, why don't you tell us about today's sponsor?
It's not a sponsor, so I couldn't. I'll be honest. I'm still kind of out of it from the other week and from this doing stuff this past weekend. So I decided instead of thinking up a fictional sponsor, I'm going to once again shout out a YouTuber I like. And this week, we're shouting out. The channel name is the Ashspawn. So this is a guy who I believe is from the UK. And he has an incredibly distinctive voice, and he makes incredible in-character lore videos for, at the moment, 3 settings. Specifically, he has, and these are all ongoing in parallel. Specifically, he does Vampire the Masquerade, and it's branching out into the world of darkness generally, although everything is told from the perspective of his vampire character. He also does Dungeons and Dragons in a generic sense. So it's talking about different monsters that you find across many different settings. And he has a character there who is actually LK would really like this guy because his VTM character is a Ventru Elder, and his D&D character is a mage.
Ooh.
One of the mageliest mages who ever maged. Yeah, he's funny, and he is an incredible. Like if I needed voice actors, I would actually offer to hire him for something. I don't know if he has any interest, but he does. Just his acting for his own fun here, it's incredible. He's also done, I don't know if he's going to do any more, at least for the moment, but he did a number of videos for the relatively new IP called Trench Crusade, which if just content warning, that's pretty fucked up. But yeah, very grimdark. But he did a fantastic job with that too. It's a hell of a setting. So yeah, that's I'd say check his stuff out. Even if you're not into any of these settings, he's just a very pleasant voice to listen to, and I recommend him on that basis to fall asleep to or something. So there you go.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to find out where people are. So, Ark, where can the people find you?
I'm finally getting the hang of Terra Invicta, playing with the Schedule 1 update, and I haven't even gotten to the 1.1 update for Satisfactory. I'm going to start yet another save file for that. So yeah, I'm eating good.
All right. I wish I was. I've ran out of V-Rising content, and I haven't figured out what to play again yet.
We'll find you something.
I've been messing around with some Street Fighters, Void Crew when I can get people, which is not as often as I'd like. And I've been kind of messing with Game Dev Tycoon. Yeah, you got me this game. Let's play, and then you're never around.
Well, because you want to play at 4 a.m, and I have to be up to work at 9.
I've tried other times too.
If you catch me earlier in the evening.
I've tried other times too, and you're busy.
Hence, Thursdays are good days.
Okay, good to know. Anyway, as for me, you can find me on Twitter at LaserKidPrime. You can find me on Blue Sky when I remember that I have a Blue Sky at LaserKid. And you can, of course, find me on the Toonami Faithful podcast, where I do recordings with Sketch and Kuro for Toonami-focused content. Definitely check us out. We're not officially affiliated or anything, but we're kind of sort of in the same group. We have them over here all the time. Sometimes Ark goes over there. I'm always over there. Well, most of the time. So definitely check out Toonami Faithful. As for the Simuldub Saints, you can find us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Simuldub Saints. We have a Facebook group that is linked on the YouTube and the Spotify podcast page for the podcast. The main place for this podcast is, of course, on YouTube, although we are on Spotify podcasts, which means we're also on a number of other podcasting platforms if you prefer the audio version. So, yeah, give us a check out. Thank you all for listening. But that about does it for this week's episode of Simuldub Saints. So, until next time, catch you later.